You can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs. No, I'm not here to share a recipe. This is a statement given by an abuser justifying domestic abuse. Now let's understand what domestic violence means and what is the implication of that statement. Domestic violence is violence or other abuse in a domestic setting, such as in marriage or cohabitation. Domestic violence is often used as a synonym for intimate partner violence, which is committed by one of the people in an intimate relationship against the other person and can take place in heterosexual or same-sex relationships or between former spouses or partners. It takes multiple forms, including physical, verbal, emotional, economic, religious, reproductive, and sexual abuse, which can range from subtle to coercive forms of marital rape and to violent physical abuse, such as choking, beating, female genital mutilation, and acid throwing that results in disfigurement or death.
There are various types of abuse, like physical, which is hitting your partner, emotional or verbal, constantly taunting and tormenting your partner, technological, like asking for the location of your partner and always asking them to stay quiet when they are clearly being abused in any form. Domestic abuse is not so much about a loss of control as it is about total control. Ironically, many batterers do not see themselves as perpetrators but as victims. This reasoning is common among batterers and have many elaborate denial systems designed to justify or excuse their action. So why do these people abuse? The act is simple, but everything around it is not. The fist meets flesh, force makes contact, nerve ending fire away in pain, capillaries burn, and tissues swell.
We go after vulnerable women.
Yes, we target you, and then we trap you.
It's what we do. It's in our nature. Don't take it personally.
We stay well away from confident, empowered, well-informed, and self-assured women with the ability to see through us. If you're a woman like that, we don't want to be anywhere near you.
Profile of an abuser. Men who abuse are clever, smart, and extremely charming. They have a personality which lets people in. They are deceitful and manipulative. Certain traits are jealousy. The abuser might be overly possessive and might get jealous of the time the victim spends away from him.
Look at me. Why are you lying down on the floor? Why? Why? You are so pathetic. What do you do for me? Absolutely nothing.
Controlling behavior. The person cannot go out of the house, leave a place.
The ability to know exactly what strings to pull to emotionally tangle you in our web.
Isolation. Abusers usually make their partner move away from their home, so the partners are solely dependent on the abuser for all the things.
And you know that you're the only one that I love and trust. And I know I've got my faults, but you are the only person who understands me. And I know you wouldn't leave me like the others.
So, what really goes on inside the mind of these violent abusers? According to Sigmund Freud, we're driven by unconscious energy of our mind. The id is that part of unconscious that always seeks pleasure and avoids pain. We are born with the id only. So as these violent individuals grow older, their id grows, but the superego does not. The id is what gives rise to aggressive, impulsive instincts, leading these people to commit abuse. The superego is the conscience that tells us what to do and what not to do. It is what tells us what is correct and not. In violent individuals, the superego does not grow or is damaged due to childhood abuse and neglect. The superego, therefore, has no control over the ego and cannot punish an individual when he does something wrong. The ego is the rational and the conscious part of the mind that is driven by unconscious forces. It is constantly struggling to maintain the balance between the needs of the superego and the needs of the id. The id is always dominating over the ego in case of these abusers. The superego, being damaged, cannot take the control over it. The ego therefore cannot keep the id in line because it is extremely dominating, resulting in this violent behavior.
Domestic violence is quite common in India, and women in India do not seek help because they are completely dependent for finances on their husbands, so seeking help is not even an option for them.
And destroy you. Physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, and professionally.
One reason that the person going through domestic violence may not leave is that the society normalizes such kind of abusive behaviors and there is no point in seeking help. They also fear for the lives of their loved ones whom the abuser has threatened to harm.
Mom! Jack! What's all that about? What are you talking about? What? You think I wouldn't find out? Let my daughter go.
Women going through domestic violence may be diagnosed with a very common syndrome known as the battered women syndrome, which is a manifestation of PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. This syndrome develops in response to a 3-stage cycle. First one being tension being developed in the relationship. The second stage of the syndrome includes release of tension by the abuser by using violence. The third stage of the syndrome may include nice gestures from the abuser's side and promises to not repeat the violence again. However, the partner does not find any solution to release his tension, so the cycle keeps on repeating.
I know what he looks like. When we get on really good. It's not every day he lashes out. It's because of what happened to him as a kid. But he said he's going to get help with that anyway. With my help, we will get through this.
Abusees never know that they're getting abused in the first place, as it's isolated. Secondly, they think that they're the only people who could love that person and help him fight his demons by enduring the pain, as it will all get better soon. After all, they are being loved.
We'll be alright. I ain't gonna leave you to deal with all this on your own, I promise. You've got me, I promise. Everything will be fine.
Someone might have bad judgment by staying in an unhealthy relationship or dangerous situation. It does not mean that they are responsible or asking for the abuse perpetrated against them. There are many reasons why a person loves or once loved the abuser, and often children are involved. Many times, leaving an abusive relationship is not only emotionally difficult, but it also can be life-threatening.
I don't let him do this to you. Why can't we just leave?
It's not that simple, Lily.
Yes, it is. I'm scared for you, Mum.
Remember what I told you? God will not abandon us. He will protect us.
It's not protecting you.
It'll be okay.
Fear of how others will react. That is, people in abusive relationships often feel embarrassed to admit that their partner is abusive for the fear of being judged, blamed, marginalized, pitied, or looked down upon.
Appreciate it. I really need you to go.
Look, I can help you.
I don't need your help.
Sarah.
Statistics show that victims of violence endure an average up to 7 attacks. The dominant reason is codependence, control by the abuser, shame about the abuse, and a dysfunctional nature of the relationship.
The
cycle of violence typically starts with abuse. The abuser acts in an aggressive rage using any type of abuse. The abuse is to show control. Following the abuse, the abuser will feel guilt and be sympathetic. However, this sympathy may be because of the fear of the consequences. After guilt, the abuser will try to put blame on the victim as to why he acted in that manner, attempting to avoid responsibility. Next, the abuser will try to act as normal as possible to keep the relationship afloat. At this time, the victim will begin to believe that things are changing for the better. Before things actually start getting better, the abuser begins to visualize to abuse again. Then, the abuser will set up the victim to give explanation for why he has been abused again.
But he loves me now.
Actions do speak louder than words, but this does not mean that words have no impact on a person's mental health. Therefore, emotional abuse and physical abuse are equally harmful for a person. Physical violence is often seen as more serious than emotional abuse, but this statement is totally not true. The effects of emotional abuse are real and long-lasting.
In Indian society, girls are often taught to compromise no matter what, to keep her house happy irrespective of the abuses she has to bear. With the societal pressure, she is burdened under the stigma of divorce. The fear of survival locks into her mind due to extreme dependency. Self-worth and dignity are crushed the day she has to sleep on the bed beside her abuser.
In India, the concept of Kanyadan is very famous. This means that the bride is handed over to the groom and his family. This concept of Kanyadan makes the woman feel like she's a burden to the family and therefore she does not seek help for emotional abuse.
Emotional abuse can go far, and it is hard for people to usually detect and can go unrecognized. Research has shown that psychological or emotional abuse in adults can be linked to poor relationship satisfaction, symptoms of anxiety and depression, insomnia, low self-esteem, suicidal thoughts. Emotional abuse of children can have serious effects on their development, and these effects can continue into adult life.
If you haven't gone through such an horrific experience, then consider yourself lucky enough. But what if you know someone who is going through something like this? If so, don't stay quiet or make peace with it. Instead, move forward and support them. Encourage them to speak up for themselves, make them take their own stand and fight back the oppression. Leaving an abuser to his way can be dangerous. Call a women's shelter or domestic violence hotline for advice. Prefer making a call at a safe time, that is, when the abuser isn't around or from a friend's house or any other location you find to be safe. Look out for the victim, listen to what they have to say, and try to make them understand why they shouldn't tolerate. But even after all this, what renders someone vulnerable to becoming violent? I still wonder what goes away in that key moment where someone decides to cross that line that most of us still recognize and appropriately flinch at in revulsion, where someone lets loose with that fist, that belt, that weapon, decides to finally pull that trigger. Sometimes I still think there is a greater moral question to be asked as well of an abuser. What is causing that blind spot that says hitting someone is okay?